Hello friends, today I am going to explain another new Chinese drama. In the starting of the drama, we see the main leads who are romancing with each other. After taking a shower, the female lead Xiaoi comes out and she hugs Han. Then Han says to her, "Let's get a divorce. Because I have found the girl I was looking for. Her name is Zia. If you agree to get a divorce, then I will give you a very good compensation. The money will be transferred to your account tomorrow." Saying this, he starts going from there. Then Xiaoi tells him to stop. Then Han said, "Xiaoi, I warned you before marriage that our marriage is just a compromise, so don't love me." Then Xiaoi said, "I just want you to go out with me for the last time. After coming from there, I will sign on it immediately." Han said yes to her and left. After this, Xiaoi said in her mind, "Han, have you really forgotten what you promised me?" Now she remembers a scene in the flashback in which someone had kidnapped them in childhood. Then Xiaoi gave him something to eat. Then Han said to him, "Don't be afraid, I will save you. I will take you to your house." Xiaoi said, "I believe you, but I don't remember where my house is." Then Han says, "No problem. Wait for us to grow up. Then I will marry you, and then my house will be yours." After remembering this, Xiaoi said to herself, "Han, I will not let you forget your promise." In the next scene, Xiaoi is going somewhere by her car. Then a man comes with a car in front of her, and he says to himself, "Don't blame me for killing you. If you have to blame, then blame yourself, because you have insulted someone." Saying this, he hits her car. After this, Xiaoi calls Han, but her call is picked up by Zia. Xiaoi says to help her, but Zia cuts the call without saying anything, and then she said to herself, "If Han meets you at the old place, he will recognize you. Then how will I use your identity?" Then Han came there and said to her, "What are you doing here?" Zia said, "I don't feel well. Can you take me to the hospital? Because I am in a lot of pain." Then Han takes her to the hospital with him. In the next scene, they check up and coming back. Then in the same hospital, people also brought Xiaoi. She saw both of them leaving from there and said in her mind, "It seems that you two have been together for a long time. Only I loved you." After this, she faints. In the next scene, we see two brothers of Xiaoi. After a long time, they come to know about Xiaoi. Then her eldest brother Junheng says, "Tell your third brother to come with us to take Xiaoi." In the next scene, we see her third brother Zilu. He come to know that his sister has been found, so he went to take her quickly. After this, the three of them reach the hospital where Xiaoi was admitted. Seeing them there, Han says, "What are the people of the Bai family doing here?" Then Zia said, "Bai family is the richest family in this world." In the next scene, Xiaoi is in the operation room. Then a doctor tells the nurse to bring ice quickly. Then the nurse said, "There is not enough ice in the snowbank." Then the three brothers of Xiaoi come there and tell the doctor that the patient inside is our sister. Bring the best medicine for her. Somehow you have to cure her, even if you use all the resources of the Bai family. After the operation, the doctors tell them that Xiaoi has suffered a lot of internal injury in the brain, because of which her memory may be lost. Now her memory comes back only depends on fate. Then her brother Junheng says, even if she forgets a few days of her past, it doesn't matter. From now on, she is the daughter of the Bai family, who has come back from abroad after studying. In the next scene, she is in the Bai family, and looking at her room, she says herself, "Is this really my room? Why do I feel a little strange? It's been a long time since I came from the hospital, but I don't remember anything yet. Anyway, my three brothers are very busy these days, so why don't I take advantage of this opportunity and go for a drive?" In the next scene, we see Han, who is scolding his assistant. Then his assistant said, "I searched your wife in the whole city, but they didn't know anything and Madam has left this for you." Then he sees that there was blood on that letter. He said to his assistant, "Is there anything wrong with her?" Then the assistant went to find her. After this, Han says to himself, "Xiaoi, where can you go without me?" In the next scene, Xiaoi goes to a bar and tells him to call the most handsome male model here, and I want the most expensive wine here. In the next scene, we see that she is having fun with two male models. Then Han comes there, and he sees Xiaoi with those two male models. Then he goes inside to Xiaoi, but then Junheng comes and stops him and says, "Mr. Han, what do you want to do with my sister?" Then Han says, "This is your sister. Sorry, I thought she was someone else." Saying this, he went out of there. After this, Junheng sends those male models out of there. Han is watching all this from outside. Lanheng said to him, "How dare you come here alone and drink, that too with male models?" Saying this, Junheng takes him away from there. Then Han saw him and said, Xiaozi, is this you? In the next scene, Xiaozi goes to a royal restaurant. There, Zia had also come with some of her friends, and she saw Xiaozi and said, you are Mrs. Han, right? But Han threw you out of the house. You know very well that you can't compete with me, so quickly sign the divorce papers. Hearing this, Xiaozi says, I don't know what you are talking about. I keep dogs like you away from myself, so go away from here. Then Zia says in anger, how dare you shout at me? I want to tell you that I am Mrs. Han in the future. The whole Han group will be mine. This restaurant belongs to the Bai family. Poor people like you are not allowed to come here. Xiaozi avoids her and goes away from there. Then Zia stopped her and said, I heard that one night you went to the Platinum Club, and there you were having fun with some male models. Then Xiaozi slaps her and says, slapping you has given me pain in my hand, because you have a very thick skin. By the way, I don't care who is Mrs. Han. Saying this, she starts going inside. Then the manager comes there. Then Zia says to the manager, you have come at the right time. This girl has come to your royal restaurant by body selling. Shameless people like her should not be allowed inside. So get her out of here quickly. Otherwise, I will complain about you too. Then the manager calls the security guards and says, get these 3 girls out of here. Hearing this, Zia says in anger, I am the future Mrs. Han. None of you have the courage to touch me. Then Junhong comes there and says, I have the courage. Then Zia says to him, this girl was troubling you. Get her out of here quickly. Then Xiaozi says to her brother, why have you come so late? Then Junhong says, we were preparing some gifts for you. Then some people bring a lot of jewelry there. And Junhong says to him, you can keep any jewelry you like. And last time you said that you want a new car. This is a limited edition car. You will like it very much. Then Zilu says to the 3 of them, what are you 3 doing here? This is a restaurant of Bai family, and you 3 do not have permission to come inside. Then the security guards take them out. Then she says to her 3rd brother Zilu, didn't you buy a gift for me? Then Zilu says, how can this be? I bought wine for you, but you have to drink it at home. When security guards take 3 of them out, Zia's friend says, these people have blocked us from the Platinum restaurant. Now everyone will make fun of us. Zia shouted and said, why are you afraid? Immediately after the divorce, Xiaozi seduced the young master of the Bai family, but I will not let her go so easily. In the next scene, Zia says to Han, I have heard that you are going to a dinner party today, so can you take me with you? Then Han says, you are pregnant now, so it will not be right for you to go to the public for physical health. By the way, didn't the biological father of this baby contact you? Then Zia says, as soon as he heard that I was pregnant, he left me immediately. Now I don't want to contact him myself. Han, did you forget? When we were young, you promised me that you will always take care of me. On this, Han says, I will not break my promise. If you want to go to the dinner party tonight, then it's okay. We will go together. Hearing this, she is very happy. In the next scene, we see Xiaozi. Junhong comes to her and says, our little princess is looking very beautiful today. Tonight, you will be the most beautiful star of this party. The whole city will know about you. Then Han and Zia also come to the party. Zia says to him, this is the most expensive hotel here, and it also belongs to the Bai family. On this, Han says, Bai family is the richest family here. They must have so many properties. Today he is going to introduce everyone to the young daughter of the Bai family. Then he sees Xiaoxin in front of him, who was talking to Junhang. Seeing this, Han goes to her in anger. And then Zia says in her mind, I never thought that Xiaozi could be so shameless. I will not let her get involved with Han again. In the next scene, Han went to Xiaoxi and said, you left blood on the divorce papers. Why are you hiding from me? Are you doing all this to get my attention? Tell me, what is your relationship with Junhong? One day, I also saw you with him in the club. You are comparing him with me. Xiaoxi says in anger, what nonsense are you talking? I don't know you. Then Han says, why are you pretending all this? Let everyone know that we are husband and wife. Then Zia comes there, and then Xiaozi kicks him away. Then Zia stopped her and said, how can you be so selfish? You have already taken a divorce from Han, and you have already shared the bed with Junhang, and now you have come to seduce Han again. Hearing this, Xiaoxi said, okay, so you know him. That's why you both look crazy. Then Zia tries to stop Xiaozi, and Xiaozi slaps her and tells him, this is Bai family. If you dare to stop me again, I will slap you again. Zia says, Xiaozi, what are you so proud of? You are just a trash thrown by Han, which Junhong has picked up. Until he gets bored with you, he will stay with you, and then he will throw you like a trash. You are an unwanted dog. One day you will have to sit on my lap and beg. Then Junhang comes there. Xiaozi tells him, look, these two crazy people are arguing with me, and this boy even tried to kiss me. Hearing this, Junhang says, Mr. Han, you are troubling for a Bai family. Do you want to be our enemy? Then Han says, what is your relationship with this girl? Junhang says, it doesn't matter. Just remember that she is from a Bai family, and you don't have to worry about it. Then some security guards come there, and they catch Zia. Zia says in anger, how dare you touch me? I am future Mrs. Han. You can't do this. Han says, don't you take Han family seriously? Junhang says, I didn't do anything with you, but right now you are in front of Bai family, so it would be better if you don't say anything without thinking. Then Xiaozi says to him, brother, let it be. There's no point wasting time on people like them. Saying this, she takes him away from there. After this, Zia says to Han, look at my face, why didn't you save me? Then Han says, I had already warned you. You yourself came and troubled me. Then he says in his mind, don't think that you will pretend that you don't know me, and this will break our relationship. In the next scene, Xiaozi comes there wearing a face mask. Then people see her and talk to each other that she is the young daughter of the Bai family. I have heard that she has just returned from studying abroad, and her temper is also very good. Seeing her, Han says in his mind, why do I feel like Xiaozi? Then he went to Xiaozi and said, can I dance with you? Xiaozi says in her mind, he has come again. After this, the two of them start dancing together. Then his brother Zilu tells Junhang, what is Mr. Han doing? Isn't he afraid that he is challenging our younger sister? So Junhang says, Xiaozi has just come from the hospital, so don't remind him about the divorce. That's why we can't even reveal his identity. At the same time, Han says to Xiaozi, who are you? Then Xiaozi says in her mind, who is this boy, and why do I feel so familiar? Then seeing him, a girl says, it seems that Miss Bai is also interested in Mr. Han. By the way, they can be a very good couple. Hearing this, Zia gets very angry. At the same time, Han said to Xiaozi, if you don't tell anything, then I will pick up your mask myself and see your real face. Saying this, he starts picking up her mask. But then Zia says, my stomach is hurting a lot. Hearing this, Han quickly picks her up from there and takes him to the hospital. After this, Junhang told all the people there, I want to introduce you all to her. She is my biological sister and the only daughter of the Bai family. In the next scene, Han says to his assistant, so you clicked this photo of Miss Bai. How much blur face is coming in this? So it is very difficult to find out anything from this. The assistant said, sorry, I will check again. That's why Han stopped him and said, if the Bai family wants to hide her identity, then you can't find out even if you want to. Anyway, a business deal has been made between the Bai family and the Han family, so I will personally go there and meet Miss Bai. In the next scene, Yaozi thinks, what was my relation with Mr. Han? Is it possible that a business deal has been made between him and the Bai family? My brother is definitely hiding something from me. That's why I have to check about it myself. In the next scene, Junhang says to someone, the youngest lady of the Bai family is coming to your company for an internship, so take good care of her. In the next scene, Xiaozi goes to the company for an internship. All the employees of the company were standing outside to welcome her. Then Xiaozi says to herself, all these people will recognize me. Then how will I do my secret investigation? Then a girl named Wei Wei comes there, and she bumps into Xiaozi. She was wearing a very nice dress. Then the employee saw her and said, who is the daughter of the Bai family among these two? Then the manager said, are you both blind? You didn't recognize the daughter of the Bai family. Saying this, he goes to Wei Wei, because he was thinking of her as Miss Bai. Seeing this, Xiaozi says in her mind, it's good that I wore some normal clothes today. That's why these people didn't recognize me. Anyway, this will help me a lot in the investigation. At the same time, Wei Wei says in her mind, this madman is thinking of me as the daughter of the Bai family. This will not only promote me, but my salary can also increase, and maybe I can also connect with a wealthy family. Then she says to the manager, I have come here for the internship. Then the manager completely avoids Xiaozi and takes the girl inside. Then Xiaozi says in her mind, it seems that they treat rich people better. After this, she went inside. After this, the manager takes Wei Wei inside and says, this is your desk. We will follow all your words. Then he said to Xiaozi, come on, quickly bring a cup of coffee for Miss Bai. Then Xiaozi says, manager, my name is Bai Xiaozi. Then the manager says, I have asked you to bring coffee. Why are you talking nonsense? But Xiaozi goes to her desk and sits down. Then Wei Wei says to her, I just asked you to bring coffee for me. Can't you hear? Then two girls came to her and said, you are not obeying Miss Bai's order. I agree that your surname is also Bai, but are you the daughter of the servant of the Bai family? Then Xiaozi says, everyone here is an intern. Then why should I listen to her? Then the girl says, because she is the young lady of the Bai family. You have to respect her. Then Wei Wei says to her, you are wearing such cheap clothes. Anyway, it doesn't matter to me. You just follow my order. Then Xiaozi goes to her in anger. Then she touched her clothes and said, you are the daughter of the richest family here, right? But I think you are wearing these fake clothes. I doubt whether you are the daughter of the Bai family or not. Then Wei Wei says, do you even know what you are talking about? Then Xiaozi said, but this collar label on your dress is very wrong. Then Wei Wei says in anger, why are you talking nonsense here? What do you know? Then she goes away. After she left, an employee said, even I found her dress a little strange. Then the other girl says, you don't know anything. Her dress was designed by Italian designers. Rich people wear such clothes. And the manager said that she is the Miss Bai, so how can this be wrong? Then Xiaozi comes to her and says, you want to respect Miss Bai, right? So now it is your responsibility to make him drink coffee. Then she goes away. Then Wei Wei says in anger, how dare you insult me in front of everyone? Now see how I teach you a lesson. In the next scene, the manager comes to Xiaozi with a lot of files and tells him, send all these documents to Han Group's office. Seeing this, Xiaozi said, these are a lot of documents. Then the manager said, these are very important documents. It is important for them to reach Mr. Han's office. So send them before the office closes today. Otherwise, there's no need to come to work from tomorrow. Hearing this, Xiaozi says in her mind, I got the opportunity to meet Mr. Han so soon. I should take advantage of it, so that I know what happened before my memory goes. Then she told the manager, give me a USB disk, because these files are very heavy, so I will only give that USB to Mr. Han, in which all the documents are saved. Then Manager Wang gives her the USB, and Xiaozi went away from there. After this, Manager Wang said to Wei Wei, ma'am, don't worry. I guarantee that Mr. Han will not meet her. On this, Wei Wei says, when she comes back after getting insulted, then remove him from the job. She tried to insult me, so it had to happen with her. In the next scene, Han is going out of the company. Then he sees Xiaozi coming from the front, and then he said to himself, last time you pretended not to recognize me. Now let's see how you explain. Then Xiaozi finds his second brother there. Then she says to him, brother, what are you doing here? Then his brother says, have you come to the Han Group for a blind date? Xiaozi says, no. I am now an intern in a company. Hearing this, his brother said, so you are also interested in business. Then why didn't you become a general manager directly? You didn't have to do the internship. On this, Xiaozi says, no, first I want to train well. Then his brother said, okay, I'm waiting for you outside. You finish the work quickly and come. After this, she goes inside. Then Han pulls her inside the lift, and he starts kissing her forcefully. Then Xiaozi keeps him away. Then Han said to her, Xiaozi, now you are very capable. Now you have seduced another boy, even hugged him in a public place. Can't you be satisfied with one man? Then Xiaozi slaps him, and she says to him, what nonsense are you talking? Then Han said, how dare you hit me? First you seduced 2 men. Hearing this, Xiaozi said, are you crazy? If I want, I can seduce 10 people. You have nothing to do with it. Then Han says in anger, then why did you come here to meet me? Xiaozi said, I have brought the documents of cooperation between the BI group and the Han group. Apart from this, I don't even know you. Han said, don't you know me? I am your husband. Then Zia comes there, and she says to Han, what are you doing? Then Xiaozi said to him, it is better for you to convince your girlfriend than to interfere in my personal affairs. Saying this, she starts going from there. Then Zia says to Han, Han, I missed you a lot. Then Xiaozi said to him, Mr. Han, your acting skills are very bad. Saying this, she goes from there. And then Han says to himself, Xiaozi, don't think that we are divorced. We haven't taken the divorce certificate yet, so you are still my wife. Then Zia said to him, this girl must have come to seduce you again. Han says, you don't need to come to the company from now on. You are pregnant, so it won't be right for you to come here. And others also have a misunderstanding about us. On this, Zia said, I was just worried about you. That's why I came here. Then Han goes from there. After this, Zia says in anger to herself, Xiaozi, do you want to die? At the same time, Xiaozi goes outside where her second brother was waiting. When she sits in the car, her brother puts a seatbelt on her, and Han sees all this. Then her assistant came and said, Mr. Han, you have one more urgent meeting. Then Han says, today, I will personally go to the Bai group, and I will arrange that project. Saying this, he went inside. In the next scene, when Xiaozi goes to the company again, then Wei Wei throws water on her. Xiaozi starts shouting at him in anger. Then Wei Wei says, we were just cleaning. It seems that your eyesight is weak. Hearing this, Xiaozi said, "Okay, you were cleaning, so let me also clean the bad luck from your body." Saying this, she throws water on her. Then Wei Wei shouted at her and said, "How dare you do this to me?" Then the manager comes there. Then Wei Wei says to him, "I am ordering you to get this girl out immediately." Then Xiaozi said, "First you poured water on me. I just returned you the same." Then the manager said to her in anger, "Do you even know who you are arguing with? And I told you to give those documents to Mr. Han. Did you send it? If not, then leave right now." Then Wei Wei said, "Seeing this, it seems that she did not meet Mr. Han. Come on, now sit on your knees and apologize to me. Otherwise, you will have to compensate for the loss caused by you." Then Han comes there, and he said to Xiaozi, "Were these people bullying you? I will not tolerate all this at all." Then the manager said to him, "Mr. Han, what are you doing here?" Then Han said to Wei Wei, "How can you bully your colleagues?" Then the manager said to him, "This Xiaozi is a new intern here." Han said, "He is no longer an ordinary person. I am making him the in charge of this project." Hearing this, Xiaozi said in her mind, "I did not expect that he would help me so much." Then the manager said, "Xiaozi is just an intern now. How can you give such an important project to him? Wei Wei is the daughter of the Bai family. You make him the in charge of this project." Then Han said, "Although he is the daughter of the Bai family, but who will be the in charge of this project depends on whose project plan is better." Hearing this, Xiaozi said in her mind, "Fortunately, I have been doing overtime for 2 days, so I can easily be the in charge of this project." In the next scene, Wei Wei shows him her project plan in a meeting. Seeing this, Xiaozi said, "This project plan is mine." Hearing this, Wei Wei said, "You are saying that this is your plan. Do you have any proof of this? I think you did not do any preparation, and now you could not bear the fact that I am getting this opportunity. That's why you are accusing me of copying." Xiaozi said, "This is really my plan. I got it submitted to Manager Wang yesterday." Hearing this, Manager Wang said, "I do not know what plan you are talking about. You must have had some misunderstanding." Then Han said to Wei Wei, "You are saying that you have made this plan. Then explain your plan to me." Wei Wei can't say anything. But then, Xiaozi explains her whole project plan to them. After listening to her plan, Han makes her the project leader and then takes her outside. Once they are outside, Xiaozi says, "Mr. Han, where are you taking me?" Then Han's assistant says, "These are the clothes you bought for your wife." Han hands them to Xiaozi and says, "Aren't you afraid that you might catch a cold?" Hearing this, Xiaozi remembers a scene from the flashback where Zia had said to her, "You are Mrs. Han, aren't you?" Remembering this, Xiaozi says to herself, "Was what she said true? Mr. Han, were we really husband and wife? Are you my ex-husband?" Han replies, "We are not divorced yet." Xiaozi starts feeling dizzy. Zia comes there and says to Han, "I feel like my baby is kicking me, so please come with me to the hospital for a checkup tomorrow." After that, Xiaozi leaves and Zia stops Han from going after her. In the next scene, Xiaozi is very angry and says to herself, "Mr. Han is such a scumbag. How dare he kiss me? I will not let him go." Then, her third brother, Zilu, arrives and says to her, "What is our little princess so upset about? Don't be sad. I will take you to have some fun." In the next scene, Zilu takes her to a hotel. Han sees them together and then says in anger, "She didn't seduce one, but 3 men." Some other men enter the same room, and seeing this, Han gets very angry and leaves. In the next scene, Zilu is taking her back home when Han stops him and says, "Leave her." "Where are you taking her?" Zilu says, "Home." Han says, "Are you two living together?" Zilu says, "Yes." Wei Wei sees them and clicks their picture. Han says to her, "Do you know what my relationship with Xiaozi is?" Zilu says, "Yes, but our relationship is not what you think. You don't need to worry about this." Saying this, he leaves. Wei Wei says to herself, "Xiaozi, you were being so arrogant. Now it is clear that you were in a relationship with Mr. Han. Now watch how I expose your real face." An employee says to Wei Wei, "Ma'am, would you like some coffee? I will ask Xiaozi to get it." Hearing this, Wei Wei says, "There is no need to ask her to get it. I don't know how many men have touched her hands. She seems dirty to me." Hearing this, Xiaozi leaves angrily. Then, Manager Wang arrives and says, "Mr. Lin wants to cooperate with us. Can any of you go and talk to him?" An employee replies, "Mr. Lin is a bad man. He always harasses female employees. Last time I served him tea and he touched my hand." Wei Wei then says, "Manager, I think Xiaozi is a good option for this. Her drinking capacity is also very good, so we should give her this project." The manager says yes and leaves. Then Xiaozi comes back and the employee says to her, "Manager Wang has given you this project. If you complete this project, then you can become a regular employee here." Xiaozi says yes. Then Wei Wei says to her, "You have to go for dinner with Mr. Lin tonight." In the next scene, she goes to meet Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin asks her to sit down. Then, Xiaozi says, "Mr. Lin, this is the project contract." Mr. Lin says while keeping it aside, "There is no hurry. Let's have some wine together. You can do this much for me." Then, Xiaozi drinks it and gets dizzy. Mr. Lin then approaches her and says, "You are so beautiful. Tonight I will make you feel very comfortable." But then Han arrives and fights with Mr. Lin, saying, "How dare you touch her? You are not even worthy of licking her shoes." Then he takes Xiaozi from there and tells his assistant, "Make his company disappear." They both go outside. Xiaozi says to him, "I feel very hot." Han says, "I called the doctor. He will arrive here soon." Then, Xiaozi takes him to a room and tries to get closer to him, but Han says, "Don't do this or you will regret it." Xiaozi says, "Can't you do this?" Han says, "I can try." They then start getting romantic with each other. We then see a scene of the next morning. Xiaozi sees Han near her and says, "Thank you for last night." Han says, "You know how to say thanks? I thought you only knew how to bite." Xiaozi then says to him, "Come on, tell me your price. This much money will be enough, right?" Han says, "Do you think I sold myself to you?" Xiaozi says, "Your skills are much better than other people." Then she gives him the money and leaves. Once she is outside, she says to herself, "Oh God, did I really sleep with him? How could I do this? He is already having a baby. He is not at all worthy of me." Later, when she goes to the office, Wei Wei says to her, "You didn't even change your clothes? Seems like you had fun with Mr. Lin all night. You are so shameless." Xiaozi says, "You and Mr. Lin gave me that medicine intentionally." Wei Wei says, "So what happened? You slept with Mr. Lin all night, and that's how we got this project." Then, Xiaozi slaps her. Wei Wei says in anger, "How dare you hit me? I am a young lady of the Bai family. You offended me. I will not let you go." Then she calls the manager and says, "Fire her immediately." Hearing this, the manager says to Xiaozi, "How dare you hit Miss Bai? I have fired you. Get out now." Han then comes and says, "Let me see who has the guts to throw her out. I have acquired Mr. Lin's company." The manager says, "Mr. Han, if you want, we won't fire her." Wei Wei says, "This company belongs to the Bai family, so I will take the decisions here. If you take help from an outsider, I will fire you too." The manager says, "Okay, I will call your brother." Wei Wei thinks to herself, "If he calls Mr. Bai, then I will get exposed." Then she snatches the phone from him and says, "You dare trouble my brother over such a small thing? Okay, if Mr. Han doesn't want us to fire her, then she has to apologize to me by kneeling down." Han then says to her, "Please stop threatening people. Bullying your colleagues is not right. Seems like your brothers didn't explain things to you properly." Then some of the employees say, "Mr. Han is so handsome. I wish he was my boyfriend. Miss Bai, I don't know how she can misbehave so much with him." Wei Wei then says, "Xiaozi, what exactly did you do that Mr. Han is protecting you like this? Seems like you seduced him too." "Mr. Han, you might not know this, but Xiaozi is a shameless girl. She seduced my brothers besides you." Hearing this, Xiaozi says in anger, "What nonsense are you saying?" Wei Wei says, "I am not saying anything nonsense. I have proof to prove it." Saying this, she shows everyone her picture with Zilu. Then Wei Wei says, "You are a shameless girl who is dependent on men. You seduced Mr. Han and my brother both." Then an employee says, "That's why a new intern is getting so many projects. Now it is clear how she got all these projects." Han then says to Wei Wei, "Apologize to Xiaozi now. Don't think I am scared of the Bai family. I have no problem terminating the contract with them. But if your brothers find out what you did with Xiaozi, they won't forgive you." Wei Wei says, "How dare you threaten me by taking my brother's name? Don't think I am afraid of you." Then Xiaozi says to Han, "Mr. Han, I can handle this myself." Then she says to Wei Wei, "You think you are a daughter of the Bai family? So can you face Mr. Bai? You also said that I seduce men. What is this all about?" Then she shows her a picture. Seeing this, Wei Wei says, "How dare you secretly click my picture?" We then see a flashback where Wei Wei's dad comes to meet her. Wei Wei says to him in anger, "Why have you come here? I told you to directly send me the money." Xiaozi sees them both and says to herself, "This is my driver, isn't it? What is he doing with Ai Weiwei?" Wei Wei says to her dad, "Dad, you don't need to worry about me so much. Just transfer the money to me quickly and leave." Xiaozi clicks her picture. Then Wei Wei says, "That uncle is my driver." Xiaozi says, "Why was your driver giving you money?" Hearing this, all the employees say, "Is she really the daughter of the Bai family? Is she not pretending?" Then the manager receives a call. After attending the call, he says to Wei Wei, Mr. Bai is coming here today. Hearing this, Wei Wei is shocked and says, I feel uncomfortable here. I am going back. Xiaoi stops her and says, if you keep hurting people, then you will have to pay the price for it. Then, Wei Wei says, Xiaoi, why are you blaming me? You keep arguing with me. You secretly clicked my picture with my dad to trap me. Xiaoi says, what did you say? Your dad? As far as I know, Miss Bai's dad is dead. If you are his daughter, then you wouldn't even know that. Also, the man who gave you money, you said he is your driver, and now you are calling him your dad. Are you still not telling the truth? Wei Wei says in anger. How do you know? Who are you? Xiaozi says, it doesn't matter who I am. You used someone else's identity and worked in this company, and then bullied your colleagues. You are not at all worthy of being in the Bai group. Wei Wei says, what do you think of yourself? You are just a shameless mistress. I want to expose your affair with Zilu before leaving this place. Xiaozi shouts at her, you can't insult my brother like this. Wei Wei says, now you are pretending to be his sister and telling me that I am lying. What qualifications do you have to accuse me? Then Junheng comes and says, of course she is qualified. You are the one who spread rumors about my sister. I will tell you that this whole Bai group belongs to her. How dare you talk to her like this? Hearing this, Han thinks to himself, is Xiaozi really the daughter of the Bai family? Wei Wei then says, it's impossible. Xiaozi can't be the daughter of the Bai family. She is just an intern. Xiaozi says to her, you used my identity, yet I didn't say anything to you. You were just taking advantage of this. Then, Wei Wei falls at her feet and says, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I didn't do this intentionally. Please let me go. My dad has been your family driver for 10 years. Please forgive me for his hard work. Xiaozi says, you trapped me with Mr. Lin, then spread rumors about me and my brother. You are not worthy of being in this group. Then, the security guards take her away from there. After that, Junheng says to manager Wang, I told you to take care of my sister. This is how you took care of her? The manager says in fear, I had a misunderstanding. That girl tricked me. I know I made many mistakes during this period. But Xiaozi, you are my acquaintance. Please forgive me. Xiaozi says, no, employees like you, who only know how to flatter people, are not at all worthy of being in this group. Then, Junheng says to him, you will get your salary for this month. After that, you have nothing to do with this company. Hearing this, the manager collapses right there. Junheng then says, I have an announcement to make. Xiaozi is now the general manager of this group. Hearing this, the employees say, Xiaozi, despite being so rich, has always been nice to us. From the beginning, I always thought she was the daughter of the Bai family. Her temper is so good. Then Han went to Xiaozi and said, how did you suddenly forget everything? When did you become the doctor of the Bai family? How many things have you been hiding from me? After saying this, he leaves. In the next scene, Han is drinking when Zia comes to him and kisses him. At that moment, Han, drunk, says, Xiaozi, please don't leave. Hearing this, Zia gets angry and says, Xiaozi again! I didn't expect that you were still interested in her. Well, it doesn't matter to me who you love. I will be Mrs. Han. Only I will. And after this, she spends the night with him. The next morning when Han wakes up, he is shocked to see Zia next to him and says, what are you doing here? Zia replies, this was bound to happen one day. Han, when you were young, you had promised to marry me. Han replies, I remember that when you were young, you carried a pendant with you, and you had said that you would never take it off. So, where is that pendant? Zia says, maybe someone stole it from a small bag. Are you suspecting me? I am pregnant, and if you don't want to marry me, I will die. At that moment, Han stops her. Zia says, do you want babies with someone else? Who dislikes me? If you don't marry me, I have no option left but to die. Han says, you are pregnant. Don't make a joke of your and your baby's life. I promise to marry you. Then Zia says confidently, I know I am still in your heart. In the next scene, a waiter comes to Xiaozi and says, Miss Zia wants to meet you. Xiaozi asks her to stop her from coming in, but at that moment Zia comes there and says, it's okay. Even if you don't want to welcome me, I am here to tell you something. Then Xiaozi says, I get disgusted by the sight of people like you. Please, someone take her out of here. Then Zia starts saying, I am here to give you this invitation because Han can't wait to marry me, so we are getting married very soon. And anyway, you both have been husband and wife for a long time. Then Zilu comes there and says, you came to meet my sister as mistress. Zia replies, who are you calling mistress? Zilu says, did I say something wrong? Before Han and Xiaozi's divorce, you used to roam around with him. So, haven't you become mistress? Then Zia starts saying, no problem. but now I will be Mrs. Han, but Xiaozi will remain a woman left by someone. Then Xiaozi says to him, I am not interested in Han. Maybe you like picking things that I don't like. Therefore, I am giving it to you. Then the security guards catch her and throw her out. After that, Zilu says to Xiaozi, are you going to their engagement party? Xiaozi replies, why not? The Bai family and the Han family are now working together. But don't worry, I am the general manager of the Bai group now. No one dares to bully me. Zilu says, if you want to go, I won't stop you. But if anyone bullies you, tell me. After that, we see the scene of their engagement party, where Xiaozi is present with Junheng. Seeing her, people start saying, is she the doctor of the Bai family? She is so beautiful and elegant. I can't understand why Mr. Han gave her a divorce and is now going to marry an ordinary girl. After this, Xiaozi congratulates Han. Hearing this, Han says, are these your sincere words? At that moment, Zia comes there and says, I didn't expect that you would come here today. Anyway, your and Han's divorce just happened. So, you are a single girl now. If you want, I can introduce you to some men. Hearing this, Xiaozi gets angry and leaves from there. After that, Junheng says to Han, Mr. Han, it would be good if you keep your girlfriend under control, or else don't blame me for becoming cruel. After this, Han takes Zia to a room in anger and says, you should thank me for my patience. I have fulfilled my promise of getting engaged to you. I am going to give you and your baby a new life. But if you continue to provoke people like this, I can also break my promise. Saying this, he leaves from there. After that, Zia starts fixing her makeup. Then she hears some girls talking outside who are saying, did you see how Mr. Han was looking at Xiaozi? I am sure he still likes her. I have never even heard Zia's name. I wonder why Mr. Han is making her his wife. She must have used some trick. Then another girl says, they are just engaged to each other right now. But if he likes Xiaozi, he might break the engagement with Zia and pursue Xiaozi again. Hearing this, Zia gets very angry. Then she sees Xiaozi leaving from there. She follows her and pushes her on the stairs. As a result, Xiaozi gets injured on her head, due to which her memory comes back. After remembering everything, she says to herself, this means Mr. Han is really my husband. Then she faints. Seeing this, Zia says to herself, by the time you die, my engagement would have already happened. Saying this, she leaves from there. After this, Han comes there and says to Xiaozi, what happened to you? Please open your eyes. Then Junheng takes her away from there and takes Xiaozi to the hospital. After that, Han cancels his engagement with Zia. Hearing this, Zia says, you can't do this to me. You can't leave here without putting the engagement ring on me. Han says, I had already warned you. Now, I have nothing to do with you. Saying this, he leaves from there. In the next scene, Xiaozi is in the hospital. Then Zilu, angry, says to Han, how did my sister get hurt at your engagement party? I need an explanation from you. Then Han says to the doctor, Doctor, how is she now? The doctor says, the patient has a head injury. It is very difficult to tell about her current condition. So, wait for her to regain consciousness. After a while, Xiaozi gains consciousness. Then Junheng says to her, all your brothers are with you. Are you in pain anywhere? Then he says to Han, Mr. Han, we siblings want to have a personal talk, so please leave from here. Hearing this, Han leaves from there. Then Xiaozi says, brother, I remember everything. Then Zilu says, Xiaozi, please forgive us. We kept you in an orphanage for so many years. Then Xiaozi says, if you hadn't found me and brought me to the hospital, I would have already died. But how did you recognize me? At that moment, Zia comes there and starts listening to their conversation. Junheng says to her, you have a pendant that our grandpa bought in an auction. There is no other pendant like it in the world. Then Zilu says, but how did you suddenly fall from the stairs? Zia is listening to their conversation. At that moment, Han comes near her and says, what are you doing here? Zia starts saying, I am here to meet Miss Bai. On the other hand, Xiaozi says, I didn't fall on my own. Someone pushed me and made me fall. Hearing this, Junheng says, who dared to push the daughter of the Bai family? He will regret it one day. At that moment, Han and Zia arrive. Zia starts saying to Xiaozi, you got injured at our engagement party, so Han and I came here to see you. By the way, do you remember who pushed you? Then Xiaozi says to Han, let's get a divorce. Hearing this, Han starts saying, your memory has come back. Then Xiaozi says, I lost my memory in an accident earlier, due to which we couldn't get the divorce certificate. But now, your engagement with Miss Zia is going to happen. So, it's time to end our marriage. Han says, Xiaozi, you can't do this. You want to divorce me? I and Zia only? At that moment, Zia stops him in the middle and says, Han, he takes very good care of me. Therefore, he wants to marry me as soon as possible. Xiaozi says to her, Zia, there is no need to show off in front of me. Don't I know that you interfered between me and Han? In my eyes, you will always remain just a mistress. Then Han says, okay, if you want to get a divorce, I agree to it. In the next scene, they come with their divorce certificate. Then Han stops Xiaozi and says, your belongings are still at my house. Xiaozi says, I don't want them. Then Han starts saying, my relationship with Zia is not like what you were thinking. Xiaozi says, I don't care. You are going to marry Zia. Here is our wedding ring. Now go and never call me again. Then she throws the wedding ring and leaves from there. On the other hand, we see Zia. She remembers that Han had told her, you used to wear a pendant when you were a child. Where is it? She had heard Junheng talking about this pendant. After remembering this, Zia says to herself, it seems that whatever has happened because of this pendant. I will never let you two be together. After this, we see the scene of the Bai group, where a new employee has come. Seeing him, two girls start talking. This guy is so handsome. I heard that he also graduated from the same university as Miss Bai. At that moment, Xiaozi comes there and says, what are you both doing together? Then the girl says, a new engineer has come here today, and maybe he graduated from the same university as you did. Then she looks at the guy and says, Senior you? Then his senior Xiao says, we haven't met for a long time. In the next scene, they go for lunch together, where Xiaozi says to him, I didn't expect that you would still remember my favorite. Then Han sees them together and says to himself, this is my stepbrother Xiao, but how can he be with Xiaozi? Then Xiao says to her, don't pretend to be unaware. After all, you are now my boss. So just call me by my name. And there is something stuck on your hair. Saying this, he touches her hair. At that moment, Han comes there, grabs his hand and angrily says, how dare you touch her? Then Xiaozi lets go of his hand and then says to Han, Mr. Han, were you following me? Then Xiao says to her, Xiaozi, don't blame him because I am okay. After all, he is your friend. Then Xiaozi says, I don't know him. Let's leave from here. Then she leaves with Xiao from there. In the next scene, she says to Xiao, I am sorry, senior. This all happened today because of me. Then Xiao says, it's okay. You treated me. Thanks for that. Next time, I will also treat you to dinner. Okay? Then see you tomorrow. Saying this, he leaves from there. After that, Xiaozi sits in her car and starts going from there. But then she sees Han in the mirror. Then she says to him, what are you doing in my car? Han says, you had coffee and lunch with him. Do you like him? Xiaozi comes out of the car and says, Han, are you crazy? How did you get into my car? Then Han comes closer to her and says, you haven't answered my question yet. Did you fall in love with that guy right now? Xiaozi says, whether I like him or not, it has nothing to do with you. Then Han forcibly kisses her. Then Xiaozi pushes him away and says, stop bothering me now. Han says, why don't you want to see reality? Xiaozi says, you are going to be a father. Still, you want to say that you are not with Zia? Han says, that is not my baby. I am marrying her because when I was a kid, I had promised her. She had saved my life in childhood. Xiaozi says, so, you divorced me for this reason, but since we have been separated, why are you bothering me? Do you need two women at the same time? Han says, I will compensate Zia because she had saved my life, but please, give me a chance. I only love you. Then Xiaozi's brother comes there and slaps him. Then he says, how dare you touch my sister? Then he takes Xiaozi with him. But then Han starts saying, Xiaozi, I know I was wrong, but I promise you. Then his brother says, he doesn't need to compete with any other girl for a woman. Then Han says, Xiaozi, you have been with me for so long. Don't you have any feelings for me? Xiaozi says, I have taken you out of my heart. After that, she leaves. In the next scene, we see that Zia enters the Bai house, defying all odds, and says, this girl has made you all crazy. She's not the daughter of the Bai family. I am your biological sister. Hearing this, Zilu says, what nonsense is this girl talking? Someone take her out quickly. But at that moment, Junheng stops them and then asks her, do you have any proof to prove your identity? Zia says, yes, I have been with Xiaozi since childhood. We both grew up in the orphanage, and the documents from there can prove that Xiaozi stole that pendant from me. At that moment, Xiaozi remembers a scene in a flashback where Zia says to her, your pendant is so nice, can you give it to me? Then Xiaozi replies, this pendant was given to me by my family, so I can't give it to you, but I'll give you cookies. Then Zia, in anger, says, you are so stingy. I don't want to be friends with you. After saying this, she pushes her. Then Dean comes there and says to Zia, apologize to Xiaozi. Zia replies, I won't apologize to her. She is a liar. Her family doesn't even love her. so she must have stolen this pendant from somewhere. Now we see Zia saying to her, I have always considered you my friend, but you stole my pendant. You are just a shameless thief. Xiaozi says, why are you accusing me? Go directly to Dean and ask him. Then your lie will be exposed. Then Zilu says, brother, do you want to believe this girl's nonsense? Junheng says, who is telling the truth and who is lying? We will know this from a DNA test. In the next scene, a doctor comes and takes samples from both their hair. He tells them, tomorrow I will send both of their results. After saying this, he leaves. Then Junheng says to Zia, the results haven't come yet, so you have to leave from here. If you are lying, then even if you are close to Han, the Bai family has 1,000 ways. You will regret coming to this world. Hearing this, Zia says, okay, then I will come back tomorrow. After saying this, she leaves. The next day, they call Dean there. Junheng says to him, I want to confirm something with you. Do you remember this pendant? Dean says, yes, I have seen it. Junheng says, then you also remember who this pendant belongs to? Then Dean remembers a scene in a flashback where Zia gives him some money and says, if you are willing to help me, then prove that Xiaozi stole this pendant from me. Then I will donate 3 million rupees to this orphanage. But if you don't help me, you won't be able to stay as the director of this orphanage. After remembering this, Dean says, yes, I remember. This pendant is Zia's. Then their DNA test reports also arrive. The doctor tells them that Miss Zia is the biological daughter of the Bai family. Then Xiaozi is shocked seeing those reports. At that moment, Zia comes there and says, brother, I have proven my identity. Now you throw this girl out. Then she says to Xiaozi, I told you that I am the daughter of the Bai family. You are just a girl who knows how to steal others' identities. After saying this, she tries to take the pendant from Junheng's hand, but Junheng says, this pendant will remain with me for now. Then Zilu asks, are you really going to throw Xiaozi out of the house? Junheng replies, no, both of them will stay here for a few days. Zia says, I am going to rest in my room. In the next scene, she says to the maid, throw this stuff out quickly. The maid replies, Miss Zia, Miss Bai bought all this stuff personally. If you want to throw it out, discuss it with her. At that moment, Zia slaps her and says, are you asking questions in front of me? Now, I am the young daughter of this family, so just do what I say. Then the maid starts throwing her things away. At that moment, Xiaozi comes there and stops her. Then Zia says to her, you are so shameless that you still want to stay in the Bai family. All these things belong to the Bai family, and now I am the owner here, so I can do whatever I want with them. You have nothing to do with it. And anyway, you have already spent a lot of Bai family's money. If you have any shame left, return that money. Hearing this, Xiaozi says, you know very well who is the real daughter of the Bai family. You must have used some tricks. Hearing this, Zia remembers a scene in the flashback where she changed the DNA samples. Then she says to Xiaozi, now I am the daughter of the Bai family, so it's good if you leave from here. Then her second brother arrives there. Zia says to him, the lighting is better in this room, so I want this room. Hearing this, he tells the maid, keep this stuff in the guest room. Xiaozi, you stay in the guest room for a few days. Hearing this, Xiaozi says, that's not necessary. I am leaving the Bai family. Then she takes her bag and starts leaving from there. But Zia stops her and says, whatever is in this suitcase belongs to the Bai family. I need to check if you have stolen anything. Then the second brother says to Zia, you can't create trouble here. If you want to stay here, you have to follow the rules of the Bai family. Hearing this, Zia says in anger, I am your sister. You should be worried about me. Then why are you taking her side? The second brother says, either follow our rules or leave from here. After that, Xiaozi leaves their house. Then Zia starts getting angry at her. At that moment, Zilu comes there and says, you change your face so quickly. Zia starts saying, brother, what are you talking about? Zilu says, I am advising you to understand the rules of this family as soon as possible, or else you haven't seen the anger of the second brother yet. After saying this, he leaves. In the next scene, Xiaozi is leaving from there and says to herself, again, I have no place to stay tonight. It seems I will have to stay at some hotel tonight. At that moment, a man comes there and says, where is a beautiful girl going at this late night? Let me take you with my friends for fun. He snatches the phone from her hand and says to her, if you want this back, give me a kiss. At that moment, Xiaozi starts leaving from there, but some other boys come in front of her, and all of them start forcing her. But at that moment, Han arrives. He fights all of them and saves Xiaozi. Then he picks her up and takes her away from there. Upon reaching the car, he says to her, where were you going with this suitcase? Xiaozi says, drop me off at some nearby hotel. Han says, even after getting injured, you want to go to a hotel alone? You have to go home with me. In the next scene, he takes her to his house. Then he starts taking off her shoes. At that moment, Xiaozi says to him, I am fine. Han says, let me put medicine on it, or you will be in pain tomorrow. After that, he starts applying medicine on her leg. At that moment, Xiaozi remembers a scene in a flashback where Han had told her, just wait for us to grow up. Then I will marry you, and my house will be your house. Now, we see Han saying to her, your leg will be fine by tomorrow, but if you are uncomfortable, call me. After saying this, he leaves. Then Xiaozi sees the photo of them together kept there. Then the maid comes with the soup and says to her, finally, you are back. I have made your favorite drink. Then Xiaozi says to her, are all my things still kept here? I thought Zia might have thrown all these things away. The maid replies, maybe you had a misunderstanding about Mr. Han. Mr. Han never let Zia stay here for the whole night, and he also ordered us not to touch any of your things. Hearing this, Xiaozi says to herself, Mr. Han, then what is your relationship with Zia? Is there something that is still hidden from me? In the next scene, Han says to his assistant, find out why Xiaozi left the Bai family. The next day, Xiaozi goes to the office. Everyone is avoiding her. Then, when she enters, she sees some employees flattering Zia. Then, Xiaozi says to her, Zia, what are you doing here? Zia replies, this is my company. Can't I come here? You stole my identity and became the general manager here, but now you have been exposed, then how dare you come back here? Xiaozi says, I still have a Han group project. Wait for it to get over. You don't need to fire me. I will resign from here myself. Hearing this, Zia says, maybe you forgot that Han is my fiancé, so I can give this project to someone else if I want. Then she throws a card on her and says, I am giving you this money. Take it and get out of this group. After saying this, she throws her belongings down. After that, Xiaozi starts picking up her things. Then Han comes there and says, what are you doing? Then he starts taking Xiaozi away from there. Zia says to him, how many times have you helped her? Have you forgotten that you are my fiancé? Han says, I remember it very well. Last time, our engagement wasn't complete. This matter just ended here. I have broken the engagement with you. I promised you in childhood that I would marry you, but now you are the daughter of the richest family, so you don't lack anything. Hearing this, Zia says in anger, did you break our engagement for this bitch? You were pursuing her because she was the daughter of the Bai family, but now I belong to the Bai family, so you should love me. Hearing this, Han says, Zia, you have changed. You are only concerned about money. In childhood, you used to be so kind. At that moment, Junheng comes there. Zia says to him, brother, fire this girl from the job. She wants to steal my fiancé from me. Xiaozi says, I never thought about taking the position of general manager, but right now I have a Han group project. I will resign after completing it. Junheng says, who said I am firing you? Our cooperation with the Han group is very important. You deserve the post of general manager. And Zia, if you are so worried about the company, then first follow me. I will teach you how to manage the company. This company is not the place to create trouble. Apologize to her right now. Hearing this, Zia starts saying, I am your sister. Do you want me to apologize to this girl? Junheng shouts, you created trouble in the general manager's office. This company is not yours to do whatever you want. Apologize to her right now. Don't force me to say it again. Then Zia apologizes to her. After that, Xiaozi says to those two employees, I am firing both of you. Pack your things and get out. Then one employee says, why are you firing us? Xiaozi replies, because you broke things in the general manager's office and spread rumors here. This group doesn't need employees like you. Then the employee starts saying, we were just following Miss Zia's orders. You have no right to fire us. Xiaozi says, I am the general manager here and I have the right to fire anyone who doesn't do their job properly. Then both the girls leave from there. After that, Zia says, Xiaozi, now see what I do to you. After saying this, she leaves. Then Han starts taking Xiaozi away from there. Then Junheng says, Mr. Han, where are you taking our employees? Han says, I want to discuss something with them. Saying this, he takes them away. In the next scene, Zia is very angry and says, Xiaozi, I will definitely get rid of you. Maybe I will have to sacrifice my baby for this. At that moment, Han's stepbrother Xiao comes. Seeing him, Zia says, finally, you agreed to meet me. Then Xiao says, did you find what you were looking for? Zia says, Mr. Han always stops me from coming close to him. He never let me enter his study room. Xiao says in anger, you and Han have been together for so long, yet you couldn't do even this? You have also got the identity of Miss Bai. Anyway, no problem. There is only a little time left for Han's downfall. Then Zia says, don't worry, I will help you, for you and my baby. In the next scene, we see that Han goes to sleep in Xiaozi's room. Then Xiaozi shouts at him loudly. Han is also scared. Then he says to her, sorry, I came to the wrong room. Then Xiaozi says, you did this intentionally, right? What did you want to do to me? Han replies, before you came here, I used to stay in this room, so I just made a mistake. By the way, last time, the one who spent the night with me in the hotel was you, right? I need an explanation from you for that. Then their maid comes with soup. Han goes closer to Xiaozi. Then Xiaozi says to him, don't come so close to me or she will misunderstand. Han says, I don't care. After saying this, he starts kissing her. In the next scene, Xiaozi is on call and says to someone, you have to be careful while cooperating with the Han group. Zia is listening to her conversation. Xiaozi looks at her and says, what are you doing here? Zia replies, this is my group. I can go wherever I want. Saying this, she leaves from there. In the next scene, she goes to Xiaozi's office to steal some files, but then Xiaozi sees her. Then she says to her, you have come to steal the documents of the Han Group project? There can be only two reasons for this. One is that you want to ruin this project to take revenge on me. The second is that you are working with some outsider. Zia says, you're talking nonsense. I just wanted to take a look at it. Then, Xiaozi says, I informed Mr. Bai. The excuses you've made, you should tell him. Saying this, she's about to leave. Zia interjects, my brothers will believe you, or me? Then, she takes a flower pot and hits her head with it. Just then, Xiaozi's brothers arrive. Zia pleads with them, brother, please save me. She stole company secrets and tried to kill me. Hearing this, Junheng addresses Xiaozi. Are you okay? Zia questions her brother. What are you saying? Why don't you believe me? She really stole company secrets. Xiaozi retorts, why are you lying? You stole those secrets and then smashed your head against that flower pot yourself, Zia declares. You must be colluding with some outsider. You don't deserve to be general manager here. My brothers will only believe their sister. Ziluo chimes in. You're absolutely right. We'll only believe our sister, not you. Zia begs. Brother, what are you saying? I don't understand. Xiaozi explains. How would you understand? You're a fake daughter. You bribed the DNA lab to lie, and then I bribed them to tell the truth. Han heard all of this. Then, Zia pleads. Brother, this girl is lying. Please believe me. I am the true daughter of the Bai family. Junheng pushes her away. How dare you lie to us? Do you think it's so easy to become a fake daughter of the Bai family? The day you came to the Bai family villa, we had 2 DNA tests done. The second DNA test results confirmed that Xiaozi is my biological sister. Xiaozi adds, do you really think I wouldn't know who pushed me down the stairs? I didn't expose you back then because I wanted to see what your real intentions were. If you admit to everything, I might lessen your punishment. But attempting murder and stealing business secrets will land you in jail for life. Han, who heard the whole exchange, says, how could you do all this? Zia, enraged, yells, because you forced me to. I just wanted you to marry me, but you still like this girl. She and I grew up in the orphanage, but she became the daughter of a rich family overnight, while I remained a poor girl. Xiaozi cuts her off. So, you're going to hurt others because of this? I'm calling the police. Zia begs Han. Have you forgotten you promised to protect me? Please, save me. I don't want to go to jail. Xiaozi asks Han, Mr. Han, are you really going to save her? Han replies, yes. Tell me your conditions. Junheng interjects, you were confessing your love to my sister just a while ago, and now you want to save the girl who tried to kill her? Xiaozi states, fine. If you want to save her, you must agree to 3 conditions. First, the profit from our future cooperation will goes to us. Han agrees. Xiaozi then slaps Zia and declares, my second condition is, you must kneel before me and slap yourself 100 times. Zia kneels and starts slapping herself. Xiaozi continues, from now on, whenever you see me, you'll have to kneel and slap yourself. It's better if you stay away from me forever. Saying this, she leaves. Junheng tells Han, Mr. Han, we don't want a brother-in-law like you. Stop bothering Xiaozi or you'll force me to be cruel. They all leave. Zia, meanwhile, grabs Han's arm. Han screams at her. Zia replies, our engagement is done! Han yells back, our engagement is canceled! You're a terrible person. I saved you today to finish your favor. From now on, we're finished. Please stay away from me. Saying this, he walks away. Zia tries to leave, but is stopped by 2 guards who say, Miss Bai ordered us to keep you here until you complete your 100 slaps. In the next scene, Han sees Xiaozi at her car. He says, I told Zia we're finished. Please, can you give me another chance? Xiaozi replies, it's too late for that. I can't trust you. My third condition is that you never appear in front of me again. And she went away. Xiaozi's second brother arrives and hits Han on the head. He orders his guards, teach him a lesson. He tried to hurt my sister. In the next scene, Zia goes to her boyfriend Xiao's house. She tells him, look at how much Xiaozi beat me up. Xiao says, how's it going? Zia replies, don't worry. Xiaozi and Han have broken up. The Bai family hates Han now. You can take advantage of this and become the president of the Han group. Will also be the successor to the Han group in the future. Xiao embraces her and says, when I become the president, I will marry you. The next day, Xiaozi is on her way home from work. When she sees Han tied up by her brother, she asks, what are you doing here in the parking lot? Han explains, someone framed me. They've been keeping me tied up all night. Xiaozi tells him, I'm running late. I'll send my assistant to help you. She turns to leave. Han yells, at least untie me before you go. In the next scene, Xiaozi is in her office with Junheng. She asks him, did we get any new projects? Junheng replies, we have a list of guys. Take a look, see if anyone catches your eye. Xiaozi responds, brother, why are you acting like Ziluo? He showed me photos of his ideal guys too, but I just want to focus on my work right now. I don't have time to think about these things. Xiao arrives and says, I brought your favorite coffee. He then tells Junheng, I'm the new engineer here, and I'm also Xiaozi's senior. Saying this, he leaves, but he stays outside to listen to their conversation. Junheng says, your senior seems pretty handsome. Xiaozi says, brother, please stop thinking about this. He and I are just friends. Xiao, hearing this, thinks to himself, I will be the son-in-law of the Bai family, not anyone else. In the next scene, Han waits for Xiaozi outside her house. His assistant tells him, Mr. Han, it's 8:30 already. Do you still want to wait for her? Han replies, yes, I'll wait until she comes back. Then, Xiaozi arrives with Xiao. She tells Han, thanks for inviting me to the wine party. You've had quite a bit to drink. I'll tell my driver to take you back. Xiao says, something seems to be stuck in your hair. He touches her hair. Xiaozi goes inside. In the next scene, Xiao is on his way home when Han arrives. He says, are you back? Xiao replies, I'm not the same person I was before. My mom and I were kicked out of the Han family. Here's my card. Han looks at the card and says, you're an engineer at the Bai group. Why are you approaching Xiaozi? What are your intentions? If you hurt her, I'll never forgive you. Xiao replies, Mr. Bai is looking for a blind date for Xiaozi. The Bai family is the richest family around. Who wouldn't want to approach a girl like that? Plus, she trusts me a lot. Who do you think will win, you or me? He leaves. Then Han sees a girl's shadow inside the house and turns around. We see Zia at Xiao's house. She thinks, he didn't see me, did he? But why did Mr. Han follow him this far? In the next scene, Han is looking at a picture of Xiaozi. His assistant arrives and says, your grandpa's birthday is coming up. He wants you to go there with your wife. Han decides to go to Xiaozi's office to see her. Xiaozi sees him and says, why are you here again? Han replies, I want to discuss something with you. Xiaozi says, I don't want to talk to you. If it's business, you should have informed me beforehand. And if it's personal, please leave. Han says, next week is my grandpa's birthday. Will you come with me? Xiaozi replies, what identity am I supposed to use? Your ex-wife. Besides, I don't have time to spend on you. Han states, I know you hate me, but I hope you'll accept this. When we divorced, you didn't take anything. You deserve this. Xiaozi looks at the papers. You're giving me half your property? Mr. Han, have you forgotten that our marriage was just a contract marriage? Han says, even if it was a fake marriage, my feelings for you were real. He leaves. Xiao arrives and tells Xiaozi, I need a favor. My grandpa's birthday is next week. Will you be my girlfriend for the day? His health isn't good, and all he wants is for me to have a girlfriend. I'm new to the company, so I don't know any other girls. Xiaozi agrees. The next scene shows them having lunch together. Zia sees them, and Han sees Zia. He tells his assistant, check this out. What's she up to? Who is she in contact with? Even though I want to hurt Xiaozi, I will secretly help her. In the next scene, Junheng tells Xiaozi, Han wants to give you half of his property. I think he's serious this time. Xiaozi responds, I've been with him for years, and he doesn't remember the promise he made to me when we were children. I know he doesn't have any feelings for me. He just wants to marry me again. But I'll never forget that he divorced me because of Zia. I won't believe any lies he tells me. Junheng says, I'll always support you. I've kept your pendant for a few days, and it's time I return it. He gives her back her pendant. In the next scene, Xiao brings Xiaozi to his grandpa's birthday party. Xiaozi says, this is the Han family's house. Are you part of the Han family? Xiao replies, yes, please, help me out this one time. Xiaozi tries to leave, but Xiao stops her, saying, you just have to eat and then come back. Can't you even do that for me? Xiaozi says, you're from the Han family, so you must know that I'm Mr. Han's ex-wife. I can't go to the party with you. Xiao grabs her hand and says, are you really not willing to help me? Han arrives, pulls her hand away and says, didn't you hear that she wants to leave from here? I warned you not to take advantage of him. Then Xiao says, today she is here as my girlfriend, so it's not right for you to be so close to her. At that moment, one of their aunts arrives and says, you guys started fighting at the door itself. Then she asks Xiaozi and Han to come inside. Then Xiao says, Xiaozi is here as my female companion. After saying this, he asks Xiaozi to go with him, but she goes inside with Han. Then the aunt says to Xiao, you are like a frog who came here to eat for free. You are not even worthy of coming here. Saying this, she goes inside. After that, we see a scene of a birthday party where the grandpa says to Xiaozi, when will you marry Han again? Then Xiaozi replies, Grandpa, I came here with him only for you. After saying this, she gives Grandpa his birthday gift. Then the grandpa calls everyone for dinner and leaves from there. Then Xiaozi gets up and goes to the washroom. After that, Xiao is also leaving from there when Han says to him, don't even think of getting close to Xiaozi. I won't let you succeed in this. Then Xiao says, but today she came with me. The girl you love will be mine one day. Hearing this, Han slaps him. Then Xiao says, Xiaozi will be mine very soon. At that moment, Xiaozi comes there and says, I think this will never be possible. Saying this, she also slaps him and says, you have betrayed my trust. Saying this, she leaves angrily. When she comes out, Xiao says to her, whatever I said earlier, I said it in anger. I apologize to you for that. Xiaozi says, do you think I will believe you? I can never like a scammer like you. Saying this, she starts leaving. Then Xiao stops her and then knocks him unconscious. In the next scene, he takes her to a house and gives her an injection, saying, if you don't want to stay with me, then you have to die because I can kill anyone to take revenge from the Han family. Saying this, he leaves from there. In the next scene, Junheng shouts, what? My sister is missing? Han replies, she has been missing since Grandpa's birthday party. We both families need to find her together. Hearing this, Junheng says, the Han family is very unlucky for my sister. If anything happens to her, I will not spare you. Then Zilu comes there and tells them, I found her address in West City. Hearing this, Han says, I lived in West City during my childhood. In the next scene, he goes to Xiao's house and angrily says to him, tell me where Xiaozi is. Xiao says, you came here to find her? Have you lost your mind? Then his three brothers also arrive there and say to Xiao, tell me where my sister is. She went with you to the birthday party. She has been missing ever since. If anything happens to her, I will give you a very painful death. Then Xiao says, okay, if you can find her, then find her. In the next scene, we see Xiaozi, who regains consciousness and is shocked to see someone in front of her. On the other hand, some men from the Bai family come and say, we have checked all the bedrooms, but we couldn't find Miss Bai anywhere. Then Xiao says, I told you earlier that she is not here. You are just wasting your time looking here. Well, I don't have any problem with that. After that, everyone leaves from there. Then Xiao says to himself, you will never be able to find out where she is right now. In the next scene, we see Han, who remembers a flashback. He had seen a shadow of a girl in Han's house. On the other hand, we see that Zia comes to Xiaozi. Seeing her, Xiaozi says, how did you get hurt like this and how is your baby? Zia replies, this is because of you. If you weren't, the father of my child would never have aborted it. Now you are completely powerless, but I won't give you such an easy death. I want you to feel the same pain that I felt. Xiaozi says, I never hurt you. Zia says in anger, but you are responsible for everything that happened to me. Because of you, he aborted my baby, and now he wants to marry you. Now we see a scene in the flashback where Xiao was going for the grandpa's birthday party. Then Zia says to him, you should take me with you to the birthday party. But do you really like Xiaozi? Xiao replies, if I marry Xiaozi, I can use the powers of the Bai family, and then all this will be yours. But Zia says, you are lying to me. I won't let you go. If you go and meet Xiaozi from here, then I will tell the Bai family everything about you." Hearing this, Xiao throws her down in anger and then says to her, "What do you think of yourself? I am finding ways to replace Xiaozi for you. You failed to even become the daughter of the Bai family. You can't even be compared to one finger of Xiaozi." Saying this, he starts leaving. Then Zia requests him, "I have a lot of pain in my stomach. Please save our baby." Then Xiao kicks her and says, "You are not worthy of carrying my baby." Saying this, he kicks her several times and leaves from there. Now we see that Zia puts a bomb on Xiaozi's body and says to her, "I suffered a lot of pain because of you. Now it's your turn to feel that pain." Then Xiaozi says to her, "You love Han so much, don't you? You even saved him in childhood." Zia says, "Don't you understand yet? I didn't save Han. You saved him." Xiaozi says, "This means you were living with him using my identity?" Zia replies, "Yes, anyway, you only have half an hour. What do you think? Han will find you in half an hour? What will happen if he finds you? He will also die with you." Saying this, she leaves. Then Xiaozi starts shouting for help. At that moment, Han comes there. He starts opening her rope. Then Xiaozi says, "It will be too late by then. You leave from here quickly." Han says, "I had promised that I will never leave you again." After saying this, he hugs her and then opens her rope and takes her away from there. But before they can come out, an accident happens there. In the next scene, Xiaozi is in the hospital. Then she regains consciousness and says to her brothers, "Where am I?" Then Zilu goes to call the doctor. Then the doctor comes there and says, "Miss Bai has only suffered a minor injury. If Mr. Han hadn't protected her, anything could have happened." Hearing this, Xiaozi says, "Where is Han? Is he okay?" Saying this, she goes to find him. After that, she goes to Han's ward and sees that his face is badly burnt. Then she goes to him and says, "Doctor, when will he regain consciousness?" The doctor says, "He suffered a severe injury in that incident. When he will regain consciousness, it depends on his willpower. Maybe he will wake up soon or maybe never." Saying this, the doctor leaves. After that, Xiaozi cries and says to Han, "Han, don't you want to marry me again? You have to get up for that. When you wake up, I will obey your every word." Han says, "Are you really going to obey my every word?" Seeing this, Xiaozi is about to call the doctor. Then Han pulls her close and says, "Don't worry, I am fine." Then his brothers see them. A few days later, they go to a press conference together where reporters ask them, "Are you both going to get married again?" Then Xiaozi says, "Yes, we are getting married at the Platinum Hotel at the end of this month." Saying this, both of them go inside. On the other hand, Xiao sees the news of the two and gets very angry. After that, he goes to Zia, whom he had imprisoned, and says to her, "Han and Xiaozi are going to get married. I had asked you to do one thing, but you couldn't even kill her." Zia says, "Now I don't want to kill her because I will never let happen what you want. Even though I hate Xiaozi, I hate you more." Then Xiao says to her in anger, "You are not useful to me anymore." Saying this, he attacks her with a knife, which leads to Zia's death. In the next scene, Junheng says, "I don't agree to this marriage." Then his second brother says, "Brother, you are absolutely right. Xiaozi, you are our little princess. You can't marry just anyone." Hearing this, Han says, "You both are absolutely right. Even though I couldn't give Xiaozi a good wedding last time, this time I won't let her have any regrets." At that moment, Zilu comes there and tells them, "Zia is dead. The police said that she committed suicide out of fear." In the next scene, Xiaozi goes to the office. Then everyone congratulates her for the wedding. Then Xiaozi says to them, "I will treat you all this afternoon." Hearing this, everyone gets happy. At that moment, an employee says, "Mr. Xiao called this morning. He has resigned." Off time, Xiaozi is leaving from there. Then Xiao puts a knife to her neck and says to her, "Don't move or I will kill you in one go." Xiaozi says, "Xiao, what are you doing? Where do you want to take me?" After this, Xiao takes her to a rooftop. Xiaozi says in fear, "Xiao, what do you want to do?" Then Xiao says in anger, "I have always treated you well, but you didn't care about me at all. You compare me to Mr. Han." Xiaozi says, "I never thought that about you. You tricked me into going to Grandpa's birthday party. You are not the senior you were before. Ever since you came back, you have been taking advantage of my kindness." Then Xiao says, "You are misunderstanding. Ever since the Han family threw me and my mom out of the house, I have wanted to take over Han Group. Do you know why I was nice to you when I was in college? Because I knew you were with Han. I don't know why everyone likes him. What is wrong with me? Why don't you like me? Xiaoi replies, there was someone who liked you, and she was also pregnant with your baby, but you killed her with your own hands. Hearing this, Xiao says, that bitch Zia? She really wanted to marry me. She wasn't worthy of it. I thought she might separate you and Han, but she turned out to be trash. Do you really want to marry Han? Then Han will also get the support of the Bai family, but I won't let that happen because now you are in my hands. Hearing this, Xiaoi says, what are you going to do? Xiao replies, I will send a message to Han and ask him to come here. When he comes here, I will kill both of you. At that moment, Han comes there and says to him, don't do anything to Xiaoi. I will give you whatever you want. Xiao says, I want shares of the Han group. Han says, okay, I promise. Then Xiao says, okay, tell your assistant to transfer shares to me. Until you sign them, I won't leave Xiaoi. Han says, let her go. I will really sign them. Xiao says, okay, but first you have to cut your hand. After that, Han starts cutting his hand. But at that moment, Xiaoi escapes from Xiao. Then Xiao says in anger, now I have changed my mind. I will kill you both right here. Then I will be the only heir of the Han family. So Han group will be mine anyway. Saying this, he pours kerosene there and says to them, everyone will think that both of you died in a fire accident, and then I will become the president of Han Group. But before he could set the fire there, Xiaozi's 3 brothers arrive there who catch him. Then Xiao says to them in anger, how did you find this place? Xiaozi says, there's no need to find out because the location of my phone is always on. My brothers always know where I am. I have recorded everything that happened here today. Seeing this, Xiao says, were you suspecting me all along? Xiaozi says, yes, I have been waiting for this moment for a long time. Now, we see a scene in the flashback where Xiaozi receives the news of Zia's death. Then she says to her brothers, Zia is not a girl who will commit suicide out of fear of someone. She wanted to kill me and Han. Maybe she was working with someone else. Zia's baby was Xiao's, so maybe Xiao had this done. After remembering all this, Xiaozi says, that's why I risked myself so that I could find evidence against you. After that, some people from the Bai family take his away. Then Han starts saying to Xiaozi, now, no one will disturb us. Xiaozi says, you really scared me. If I hadn't escaped from Xiao, would you really have cut your hand? Han says, when you were in danger, I would have done anything to save you. But don't worry, nothing happened to my hands. Saying this, he hugs her. In the next scene, Han goes to his room and picks up the blanket. Then, he sees Xiaozi there. She wishes him a happy birthday, and then says to him, let's celebrate your birthday. The cake is kept there and I made it with my own hands. Hearing this, Han says, why does this cake feel familiar to me? And I never celebrate my birthday. Then how did you know it's my birthday? Or is it that my wife has started loving me deeply? Xiaozi says, nothing like that. Let me go. Then Han stops her and is about to kiss her. But at that moment, he sees the pendant around her neck. Then he remembers a scene from his childhood in a flashback. After remembering this, he says to Xiaozi, so, you were the girl who was kidnapped with me? Xiaozi says, yes, Han, you are such an idiot. Didn't you recognize me until now? Then Han hugs her and apologizes to her. After this, both of them start romancing each other. And with this, the drama ends happily. How did you like this drama? Tell us in the comments. And to watch more such new and interesting Chinese dramas, like this video and subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.